And once again, we've got the incredible hydro weight champion of the world, Harley Smith. I'm the organic mechanic with Kelp4less.com. And we're just going to keep talking about IPM. We kind of brushed on it a little bit in the last episode, and just moving forward with IPM. It's always a concern. It's always an issue, and just little things we can do to help control these problems that do arrive in nature. And uh, anyway, I just want to bring up one hot topic that we've had at our shop. Customers' questions here at Kelp4less and things is fungus and fungus control. And I'm not talking about mycorrhizae. I'm talking about the detrimental fungus, the blights, just all these things that everybody's so afraid of. I don't want it. I don't want to get it. How can I prevent it? And my answer to these folks a lot of times is there's study after study after study showing the detrimental effects of excess nitrogen for fungus problems. And it's been proven over and over and over again. And in our industry, I became aware that it's harder for people to pull back on the nitrogen, so they just go in with their program with fungicides already on the schedule because they don't want the fungus. And anyway, if we could just control our nitrogen use, monitor it a little better, stay away from the excesses, that's the best thing you can do for fungus control. And here at Kelp4less, we don't sell any fungicides. We don't, do anything. We're kind of the opposite end of the spectrum on that as being preventative. And I see this time after time after time after time. And guys, if you don't want fungus, pull back on the nitrogen. Don't excess. I don't know. What do you think, Harley? Am I crazy?
No, that's 100% right. The excess nitrogen. I have to be careful because I talk about preventing, don't use too much nitrogen over and over again in my classes. And after a while, people think, oh, nitrogen is bad. I go, no, nitrogen is not bad. You need nitrogen. You don't want a deficiency ever, but keep it down. Keep it in the sufficiency range, not excess. You get excess nitrogen, what happens is you get big cells with thin cell membranes. So it's an easy target for fungi to get established. So that's number one, is to do that. Cut back on the nitrogen. There's another part of that too, with the excess nitrogen. It takes a lot of the energy of photosynthesis just to assimilate the nitrates. It takes so much that it's burning up the energy of photosynthesis or in top growth, the sugars, and it restricts the root growth, which can have detrimental effects too on water and nutrient uptake. And by doing that, the Brix goes down, the sugar content in the sap. So when I'm doing hydroponics, working in greenhouses or indoor gardens, first thing I like to do is a Brix test. And if my Brix is lower than I expected, it's not a medium to high Brix, first thing I do is adjust the potassium to nitrogen ratio. I either lower the nitrogen, which is my first thought, because you're probably doing too much, or raise the potassium, because potassium is the health element. Potassium is very, very important for carbohydrate metabolism, help get the Brix up, but it also is part of the protection of the plant. So that just with minerals, just with the nitrogen and potassium balance, that to me is the first step in fungus control and also healthier growth in general.
Yeah. A good part of IPM is just don't have excesses. Why add additional stress to a plant? We've talked about this all the time, the Brix and the excesses and the deficiencies, and nutrient management is an essential part of IPM.
Right, and in fact, I believe that a lot of the insect and fungus problems that we have are really nutritional problems for the plant. If you can get the nutrition right, the plant has its own natural resistance to pests and disease. Uh, I will
Is there a
say
way to
something
bridge
else
that?
about.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say something else about the plant's natural resistance. One thing that the plants produce naturally as their fungus protection is a molecule called saponins. Saponins. Saponins are steroid-like molecules. They're not steroids, but they're steroid-like, and they uh, deactivate the cell membranes of the fungus. Because um,
Mm,
so one of the things I like if I'm doing some foliar sprays, which don't do a lot of foliar, but do when you do foliar sprays to help with protection, is to add the yucca extract
mm,
because the yucca is naturally high in saponins, which is nice because it helps the spray spread out in a thin film, so it's better
mhm,
absorbed. It spreads out better, so it would coat any insects or eggs that are there too. If you're doing it as a preventative or early spray, but it also naturally deactivates fungi as part of the plant's resistance. So we're just kind of boosting the plant's natural resistance to fungi by adding more saponins. So that's one thing I think about. In Europe right now, the copper fungicides are being
mhm,
highly restricted because copper really works. I mean, it kills microbes, it kills fungus. It's a heavy metal that's toxic. you know, um, but the runoff from all those sprays that they've been doing over the years starts to build up, and then you have environmental issues. So they've restricted the use of copper fungicides. So
mhm,
what they did, though, some tests, is they started trying to use a yucca spray, just yucca and water, as a trial at the universities. And they found it was just as effective as the synthetic fungicide with the copper
That's
in it.
incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, they were using it. The trial I saw was on apples because the apples will get the scab, which is a fungi, the apple scab on the apples, and they found it was just as effective, and it is biodegradable. So it's not harmful to the environment. It's not no heavy metals or
Yeah.
poisons. You're just kind of it's not exactly working with nature, but it is because you're just
Mhm.
saying, oh, plants naturally produce this to help protect themselves. What if we give them a little bit of help when they
Yeah.
need it?
That's right. That's right. And yucca is safe. Yucca is a food additive. It has many uses, and you know what? It won't kill birds. It won't kill aquatic life. It, if I need to get a hold of this study because, of course, it's in Europe or somewhere. We need to duplicate that here in the United States. I mean, this is important stuff. This is environmental, concern, and fits right into IPM. So yucca, another good tool to have for IPM.
It's just this is part of the arsenal, especially if you're going to do foliar sprays. You
Hmm. Right.
yeah, why is it that I still don't understand. This is the United States of America. We should be leading the world in environmental issues and controls. We should be leading the world, and it seems like we're always playing catch up. It's like, well, we don't want to. We just want to keep doing it the old way. We don't want to. We don't see them as concerned. Maybe we are now. Maybe things are changing. I hope, but I always feel like we're dragging behind the Netherlands and in the UK and in Europe when it comes to protecting the environment as well as protecting our food supply. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because
Yeah,
of the influence the chemical companies have.
that's exactly what it is. So I have to attend seminars to get my credits to maintain my crop advisor status and my applicator's license. And I can't remember how many points you need each year, but the USDA will give you a list of item or seminars or events that you can participate in or go to. And you know what? Every time I go to these, it's about a new herbicide or a new pesticide or new application techniques, or it's all chemically focused on how to apply the chemicals. And you know what? I think I'm just going to let all that stuff go because it's brainwashing, so to speak. The Yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating. I agree with you 100%, but I just wanted to throw that out there that it is dominated, the education materials, by, the big chem, big pharma, all that stuff. It's true.
Yeah. And the best minds here in this country in the universities, some of these PhD guys, they're focusing all their attention on developing new fungicides and new pesticides. Because as you know, when you're starting to work against nature, there's some negative side effects. And by the way, nature's going to find a way. So the pesticides or the fungicides that used to work don't work anymore
Hmm.
because the insects have evolved and said, we're just accelerating evolution of the diseases because the ones that are resistant to the new pesticide or pesticide, they're the ones that lay the eggs. So they're passing on resistance genes to the next generation. And you do another next year, you do another spray, and more of them are going to be resistant, and they're the ones that are going to lay the eggs. So after it doesn't take long, maybe just 3 or 4 generations. And by the way, something like spider mites, they're going to
Hmm.
have 8 generations in one season. So I mean, this is an accelerated process. So really, if we could work with nature instead of against it, then and find ways to improve the plant's natural resistance, there'll be a better balance, and the plants will be able to have naturally be able to fight off pests and disease, and the insects won't build up a resistance because
Yeah,
it takes a long time for nature to develop those defenses.
yeah. Let's go down that road a little bit on mites and mites control. I mean, it's a huge deal in the greenhouse industry, and I'm sure you've seen and learned and have a lot of ideas on that. Yeah, can you address us a little bit? IPM for mite control?
Yeah, well, for indoor growing, especially, it's prevention. I mean, if you have to fight spider mites, you've already lost because the time, the cost,
Yeah.
you're going to lose some yield. Even if you get control of them, you're probably going to lose 10 to 20% yield easy, just because you're fighting it. It's a battle, and those it's not an easy one to win. They're on the bottom of the leaves. They have the webs. They have a, a, a cycle where they're in, in diapause, where they kind of go dormant. And when they're in that stage, it's almost impossible to kill them. So you're already fighting. You may not be a losing battle, but you're going to lose something from it. So my first thing, Harley's mantra, I'd say it in every IPM class. It's on the test. Start clean, keep it clean. So when it comes to not having spider mites, I don't bring in plants from outdoors at the end of the season. They look during July to September when it's hot and dry, they are multiplying very, very quickly. And you can get out of control in a hurry. And then say, oh, I'm going to try to save that plant. You bring it indoors, you're actually bringing the spider mites and the other pests indoors with you. So I like to start with clean cuttings or start from seeds in the fall for my indoor garden. And then I don't have spider mites. I've been growing, Brandon, for as a hobbyist part in my own basement or wherever, dining room, for almost 30 years. And I've had to spray a total of 3 times. It hasn't
Wow.
three
Oh,
times.
wow.
And for spider mites, I had to spray 1 time. And that was that first year that I brought it. Oh, bringing some of this plant from outside for the winter. I'm going to overwinter it. And that was the first and almost only time I even saw a spider mite in my garden. And I was kind of lucky that time because I only brought in one plant. Well, I brought in some other plants, but that was the main one I brought in. And I noticed it had spider mites on it after I got it in. But it was one nest, and I could see the webs. I could see the little spider mites crawling, little dots crawling on the web. I said, "Oh man, I'm in trouble. I mean, there's millions. If there's not millions now, there's going to be millions." I said, "Well, maybe I'll just kind of knock them down." Well, I thought, well, I'll knock down the webs. They're going to crawl back up and do it again. I could spray them, but then it's going to knock them down, or I'm going to miss some. They're going to be on the stem. And what am I going to do? So this is not what I recommend for everybody. I had that one nest there, so I literally took a Q-tip because I had my rubbing alcohol down there for my scissors to clean up between cuts. Took a Q-tip and as carefully as I could, I did surgery. I just carefully rolled up the webs on that Q-tip, put it in a baggie, did another one. Then when I was done, I wiped the bottom of the leaves with some rubbing alcohol, and just by pure luck, I got them.
Hmm.
It turned out it was a good solution because the alcohol not only killed the adults, but it also desiccated the eggs. So the eggs didn't hatch and have more come back. But if you have a whole grow room and you have an
Mhm.
outbreak of spider mites, you're going to be walking around with a Q-tip? No.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not like that. But in that case, somehow or other, I got them, and I never had them again. The one time I almost had them was I brought in some clones that a friend gave me. And I said, "Are there any spider mites? Is there any powdery mildew?" He swore, "No, no, this is a clean garden. I don't have any spider mites." I went, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, that's good." Then I walked away and went, "He probably has spider mites, just doesn't even know it." So I have a tent in my grow room, not to keep the spider mites out, but to keep any pest and disease in. So when I
Mhm.
bring in, rarely, if ever, because start clean, keep it clean, I don't like to even do that. I'll bring them in, I'll put them in the tent, I'll do, I'll do, they're small plants at that point. I do some scouting, and then I'll do 3 pre-treatments with a product with azadirachtin. Azadirachtin is an extract from neem oil, and it's an anti-molting agent. Spider mites go through 3 different molting stages before they're adults and start laying eggs. So if I spray them early, like I do it with 3 times, once every 3 days, then if there were some eggs and they hatch, I'm going to hit them. If I hit them with that, they're not going to be able to grow up and lay more eggs. I break the reproductive cycle early on. That's the key, early, not after you have an infestation. It doesn't work as well on the adults, but on the early on, and then I can, if they're clean, I can take them out. So that one time when I had those clones from outside, there were no spider mites. I swear, I promise. I After I did my sprays, I looked around and I saw one egg, and it was hatched. Oh no, oh no! And I looked around the area. I saw one spider mite, little baby spider mite. It wasn't moving. It wasn't feeding. It was just sitting there. I said, okay, I got him. But that was the only times is when I brought in plants from outside, and since then never had spider mites. Still knock on wood, but the rest of the time.
That's
So anyway,
incredible. And what's that? What's your not the record, but what were those statistics again? Out of, I mean, you've been doing this a long time, and you've only had 3 pest problems. Was that what you said?
yeah, yeah,
That's
that's been in
incredible.
in 30 years of that's in my own gardens. Not not at the store or not when going to a grow room or something, but me personally as an indoor grower, 3 times, and those were just some little insecticidal soap sprays. you know, it's kind of some spot doing. Um,
Oh, that just
So
tells me
that's it.
how clean you are. I mean, that is again, we talk about setting yourself up for success. I mean, wow, that's way important. That is an unbelievable stat. That's even, it's hard to believe, but that just shows how methodical you are, you know, in the beginning of planning, of setting up, of starting. That's impressive. I mean, holy cow. It'd be hard to find someone that can say that. So congratulations.
Yeah,
God, you deserve some other type of award or trophy or something for that. I mean, holy moly.
yeah, yeah. If after that first experience, I like, learned my lesson. I mean, that was like one of my first indoor grows where I was bringing in, like I said, oh, bring these plants in over winter. They look really healthy. I don't see any problems. Yeah, you bring in a plant from outside, you're bringing every single pest and disease that there is outside, and you're sending them to Florida for the winter. And all they have, and
Yeah.
all they have to feed on are your plants. So I'm careful. So after that, I mean, I could do a whole thing on it, but I change my shoes. I change my clothes before I go in. I get home. I say, okay, I've been in wherever, and there could be some pests there. So I change my street clothes. I put on my gardening clothes that I know are clean. I take off my street shoes. I put on my slippers that are right by the door. Wash my hands. Okay, let me wash up a little bit. Then I go down there, um, clean clothes, clean shoes, and then I know I'm not tracking anything in now, and I'd have to do it consistently. There's
Hmm.
been times along the way, obviously I go, oh, I forgot to do something. I'm only gonna be down there 10 minutes, so I'm not gonna change my shoes. I'm like, it's just a risk. So I just don't like, take the risk, and it pays off. Now, is it a hassle to do all
Yeah.
those things? Yeah, but what starts out as a hassle becomes a habit, and what starts as a habit becomes a lifestyle. And after a while, you start thinking about vectors of contamination. When you get to that point, you're going to win. You know, and plus, I mean, nature still finds a way. It's just there's nothing that's 100%. But then I grow really healthy hybrids plants, so there's no, it never has a chance to get to a point where there's even a small problem, or almost. I'm not gonna say never, but very, very rarely is there a
Yeah.
problem. And then if you
You
catch it
set
early,
yourself up for success. Yeah. You're
yeah,
just setting yourself up for success.
I think we say that every week, but it's
Yeah,
true.
that's right. That's right. This will tie us right into powdery mildew. Maybe our next podcast we can go down that road a little bit and continue the
Okay.
IPM talks.
Yeah, as you know, I've have some real experience with that. We probably talked about it a few times, but it doesn't hurt to talk about it again.
Yeah, very helpful too.
Prevention and control, because sometimes, and there's something too. I guess I will say this: one of the three times was because I had a cultivar that was genetically susceptible to
Hmm.
powdery mildew, which we'll talk about next week, and there was nothing I could do about it. It's just you could be at 30% relative humidity, it would still get it. I literally had to say, okay, this one I can't grow in my garden. So I just stopped growing it, cleaned up really well afterwards, after I took it out for the next round, and then I didn't have powdery mildew again. Anyway, we'll save that for next week.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And yeah, we're getting close to our time slot here. Darn it, it
Mhm.
goes so fast.
No, it's fun though. I mean, this is one of my favorite times of the week is doing these podcasts with you, having these discussions.
Yeah, it is
But we'll
fun.
have
I look
another good
forward
one
to
next
it.
week.
Yeah, me too. And
Okay,
thanks for your help last week. I appreciate your understanding.
no problemo. And Kelp4less.com. Go there.
That's the place.
I promoted that this week. I had a class on biostimulants. I did actually two lectures, one to a permaculture group, one to my normal master grower short course. And I pointed some people there because at the end, once they learn about some of these biostimulants, what's the next question? Where can I buy these? say, oh, I think, why don't you try going here? I know these guys. I highly recommend them. So anyway, I'll see you next
Thank you.
time.
Okay, thank you very much for that plug.
Okay, bye.
See you.